So one thing we want to cover real briefly is just some of those visual changes. And how many in here are familiar with the body condition scale of 1 to 9? Got a lot of hands going up. So that's been around since the early 80s. And if there's any, there was last year, if there's any Texans in the room, it came from Texas A&M. They got to make sure the Texans know that A&M did this. So, but it's a scale of 1 to 9 that we will grade scored horses on, from 1 being extremely emaciated, 1, 2s, and 3s usually are pretty unacceptable, to 9s being extremely obese. That scale's been around for a long time, and it's used and it's been adapted and it's very well accepted, and we still use that today. What we developed within our business was also we tied that back into muscle development. Because when you look at the body condition scale of a horse and the body condition system, they don't describe the top line or the musculature areas of that horse filling in till that horse becomes an 8 to a 9 body condition. Most performance horses, we don't want that heavy. We don't want that much rib cover, but we want a good top line. We want good musculature on them. So we found out we had to separate those two and evaluate those two separately. So this is a little newer that we've brought on the market in the past 4 or 5 years, and we're still educating consumers and veterinarians and trainers about, but it gives you another tool in your arsenal to go out and evaluate from a visual side, leading to maybe explain why you've had some performance loss. So looking at that muscle development or the top line evaluation, we really look at, I don't think the pointer works real well, so I'll have to apologize. You look at the wither, the back, the loin, the croup, and the hindquarters. That's really the areas that we're going to look to evaluate. Now, are we going to affect every muscle in the body? Sure, by far. I mean, leg muscle, core, everything. But these are the areas that's just the easiest to evaluate. And what we're going to see, we've got a scale where we give horses from an A to a D. A being very good, where that horse is fully filled out from its hindquarter up over its loin, hip, croup area, through its back and up into its withers. That horse is at least going to meet its genetic potential for muscling. We don't want those areas sunken in. Genetically, some horses just may be, they may not be bulging muscle, like an Arabian. I can't make an Arabian look like a quarter horse. The genetics aren't there. But I really don't want those wither areas or that back concave. So we start at the front. If we've got good musculature all the way through the withers, that horse is going to be an A. And then what's very unique about muscle loss or muscle gain is they tend to lose it very uniformly or very linearly. The first place you'll notice that loss will be in the wither area, and then they'll go down the back, and then they'll go on the loin, and then they'll lose it over the croup, down in the hip, and the last place they'll lose is the stifle. So if you read this description, once again, I won't go through the detail. You can look at it in the slides, or we've got handouts on our website and stuff you can go look at. An A is basically good through, it's good all the way from. When you get to a B, they've lost the wither or maybe into the mid-back. And then a B to a C, they're going to lose it in the mid-back into the croup. C to a D, they're going to lose it over their hip. And then a D, if you look at these horses from behind, there's no stifle, there's no gasket, they look like a dairy cow. And so you give that horse a combination of a score now, or a score of, say, a 5 body condition and a B top line. And then that gives you as a manager or whoever you're working with from a feed consultation standpoint to say, okay, I may not need more calories to add rib cover, but I need to add the nutrients to fix that top line. And it can give you those ability to make those adjustments. So that A to D scale is something we're promoting and we're talking about, and like Stephanie or any members of our Equine Enterprise team can really help with in evaluating your horses. And the system's pretty easy to apply yourself if you want to go home and apply it to your own horses. So we've got some examples. That picture doesn't show up well. It may show up better on the TV. I think the TV screen over there on the right, over there on the side is brighter than this one up here. So I'll try to use my pointer. So like this horse, pictures don't do this any justice. As some of our marketing team can attest, we're trying to get pictures to show this, and you just can't see that three-dimensional impact. But you can see here, you can kind of visualize, if you can do a little bit of imagination, how angular this horse appears. He's very bony across the wither. He's lost some through the mid-back and going on down. So this horse was actually scored a D in real life. And you can see just even how angular they over the hip and croup area. I mean, that's not right. I mean, body condition side, he's a 5.5. He's almost perfect from a rib cover standpoint. not where we want them from a muscle standpoint, and not going to perform well in whatever activity you would want them to do. Now this horse, look how round, look how smooth, look how much cleaner that horse is over his top line. You know, the hip and croup area is very rounded, filled in through the winters. May not be a big bulging muscle. You know, I will say I grew up showing halter horses, so it may be a bad term in this group, but I call them feed 'em and lead 'ems for a reason. You know, they got big bulging muscle over with, but they've got the genetics for that. I mean, so but this horse, we've reached his genetic potential. Look how clean and everything he looks over the top line. Same body condition, 5.5, but this horse is an A top line. So from a musculature standpoint, that horse is going to be at peak performance level to do whatever they need to from a performance standpoint. So how are we going to achieve that? It's all about feeding muscle, and muscle is that equine engine. And the nutrients we need from muscle are different than we need for weight gain. And a lot of times I'll get consumers or whoever I'm working with call me and say, well, my horse is thin. I need to put weight on my horse. We still get that told us as the number one problem horse owners see with horses. I need weight. Well, where do you need the weight? Do you need rib cover? Do you need more fat on the horse? Or do you need more top line? Because we got to start separating those two, because they take different nutrition to accomplish those. Even apply it to me, you know, if I eat a bunch of jelly donuts, is it going to go here, or is it going to go here? I mean, calories go in a certain area, fat cover, muscle builds in other areas. And that's going to come from protein.